The weeds and blackberries behind me are hiding a secret. To the untrained eye, the sand coming out of this little gulch don't look very special. If we get up on top here and look through this old collapsed tree, I can see out here in the farmer's paddock some remnants of old gold workings, meaning that all of the erosion that's happening along this little gulch is transporting gold. I'm going to take a whole bunch of buckets, just this one bucket because that's all I've got buddings. I'm still waiting for the sponsorship so I can get more buckets. Collect the sands here and run it through a sluice box. The only problem is it is miles away from where I get to set up my sluice. You would think with almost a decade of setting sluice boxes up it'd get easier, but I assure you, it doesn't. Woo, lordy. 6.5 minutes it took to do that. You'll know when you got your sluice box set up relatively good because you'll get a V dead in the center. This isn't quite in the center. That's worse. Yeah, we'll just leave it alone. Now I just need a pan. I'm gonna take my blue circle and we're gonna do some tests. From the sluice box to the gulch, it's 62 paces. About 61 more than I'd like to do. Oh, just filled me gumboot up. Oh, now I got a soggy foot and a long walk. That's good. The gold in this particular area of Reedy Creek is glacial till, so the gravel you're seeing has been ground right down and we get this really interesting cream coloured dirt. It also means the gold is usually very fine, which is exactly what we've got. We've got heaps of gold, just super small particle sizes. That's just a couple of shovels of sand out of that gulch, and that means that there is a lot of that glaciated gold coming out of this hillside right now. I think it's time to put our only bucket to work. I'm only scraping down to the clay layer because this channel here will be working like a sluice box. It's taking all the low grade ground around it and forcing all the gold and heavies to fall out of suspension when it floods in the bottom of this trench. And the clay will be stopping the gold from sinking any further, especially because it is so fine. And that certainly looks like enough for the first trip, with leaves and all. Whew. I'm now way down with a single buddings bucket instead of two, and a whole bunch of responsibility to get it into the sluice safely. That dirt has a little bit of moisture in it, but not enough. So I'm just going to add some more moisture to it to make it moist. That bucket only took about 10 minutes to run, and I can't see any gold because it's all so damn fine. It'll be hiding in the bottom of these cells here. Oh no, there's a little shiny flake of it right there. One didn't make it all the way in. Go in, you're too good for your home. We're going back to GoPro cam. Get rid of that. Let's go for a walk. Whew. I'm sure the Australian bush looks really pretty on TV overseas, but I assure you, it's exclusively filled with things that are designed to stab you. These leaves are stabby, these leaves are stabby, those leaves are cutty. It's all here to hurt you. I mean, look, we've got a bee on top of a spiky plant. It's a murder country, I tell you. Full of holes. I know that the gold's coming out of here, but I have another question. If we've got it in this section here, how long has it been discharging onto the flat out here? So let's just do a real quick test pan. Try not to drown my other gumboot. Still too much silt. Oh man, that is some black sand at the back here. I know you're not going to be able to really make out the gold with GoPro vision, but if it's there, it means we can take a bucket from right at the bottom. If it's not, well then we won't waste our time, will we? Oh Lord, holy crap. I hope you can see some of that. There is probably 300 specks of fine gold in there. We're taking that dirt for sure. Well, I've just taken 2 steps off my walk. It's obviously just been depositing onto this flat as this little gulch has eroded. So there's obviously a high concentration on what's called the alluvial fan from this gulch. It's probably going to be richer areas and poorer areas, but I'm not leaving it behind. Not at like, you know, 200 to 300 specks a pan. Oh, it's just the thing too, people just don't carry it like a baby. That's much easier than carrying it off to one side. I need 2 buckets, buddings, hurry up. People just don't check sand. Sand's the great hider of gold. The amount of gold I have found in loose sand has been astonishing. I've run a cubic meter of sand for 2 grams of gold. That's $200 of gold in what most people walk over and ignore. And that was just in one session. Oh, blackberry in the hand. Ow. Oh, thank God. Oh, fitting this whole creek in my sluice. That's what I want to do. Now, sand tends to run real good because you don't need to classify it and it just like zips away. God, I love it. I really wish I lived in a place like over in Nome, Alaska, where you could just high bank on the beach. That would be so much fun. You might be able to see the couple of little flakes that I got sitting in that center cell there. There is good gold in this sand. Down to sort of the dregs of the sand, and it gets real hard to just pick it up. So instead we tip it. And with a little bit of luck, we'll get a nice smooth pour, and we'll empty our bucket with a little bit less stress. This will be a real test for this sluice box because Reedy Creek gold, when it's this fine and this flat, is extraordinarily difficult to catch. If this can do it, then it's a really decent sluice. If we empty this out and there's not a lot of gold in it, then we know it was losing it. That means by no means that it's a bad sluice box. It just means that it is dealing with some of the most difficult ground on earth to sluice. In fact, Reedy Creek was the whole reason tin mining, technology, sluice boxes, equipment evolved. The gold was a byproduct in the end for the tin sluicing. To separate and catch both requires something very special. Not everything can do it. And this is where that whole industry was really created. Let's go get that 3rd bucket. And a shameless plug to our sponsors today, me. I'm sponsoring my own channel with The Old Moldy. The Old Moldy is my other brand where I make things at home with my hands. And I sell them on my website, The Old Moldy, including pay dirt and gemstones from doing this sort of stuff, getting into a bit of jewelry making. We've got beard combs, we've got model rocker boxes. I got stuff on that website and I'm adding new things every single day. Some of it you may like, some of it you may hate, but it's definitely worth a look. All the money that's produced off that website goes directly back into doing stuff like this. And don't forget Patreon, because for just $1 a month, you have the opportunity to win a whole bunch of prospecting related stuff like sluice boxes, pay dirt, panning kits. We've given away literally thousands of dollars of equipment over on Patreon. Look, I figure if we move all the spiky trees and stuff, that there's still going to be gold through this section, right? There should be, in theory. But you know, that's a theory. And they don't mean much. Let's gonna take this and put it in my pan because that's like a waterfall drop off there. It's actually got gravel underneath it. No, separately, Chris, separately. I'd like to test that for gold. Not as much black sand, maybe not. This is why you test, because you don't want to be dragging buckets back 60 meters to get nothing. There's barely any black sand in that. A little bit, not compared to what it was, nah. Hardly any gold. Only about 10 micro poops. Like, I'm not even gonna bother working any further up this section. It's amazing the difference just a couple of feet can make. Where that waterfall is, barely any gold. Come up to the top here, barely any gold. In between, right where the dip crests up. So there's a flat section after the waterfall, and I managed to about triple the speck count. So there's good gold just here, barely anything through here, but good gold up here. So I reckon we've got maybe 2 more buckets. We're going to take the center out of this gully, and then that'll be it. Do this one-handed this time because I got to take the pan back for a special reason. After I run that bucket through the sluice box, I'm going to clean the sluice out, even though I'm going to do at least a couple more buckets. All of the gold, black sand, gemstones that I recover in this sluice today is going to go into at least 1, maybe 2 pay dirt jars up on my website, The Old Moldy, for you to buy. That way you can literally pan out and practice panning, get better at your skills, and experience a little taste of Victoria, Australia somewhere else in the world. Well, at least 2 people will be able to. But to get that pay dirt, I got to run dirt and turn it into pay. Yeah, all right. Not that much black sand in here, that has me kind of worried. Remember, I was getting a fair amount of black sand in every single pan. Dream Mat's pretty good at shedding it away, but I'm really not seeing very much. So I'm hoping that it hasn't blown away a whole bunch of gold, because this was a really good gutter. Oh, we got gold. We got gold, but I'm not sure that's 3 buckets worth of gold. I'm actually a little bit disappointed. Yeah, it's catching fine gold, but per pan I was getting considerably more than that. I don't know if my expectations were just too high and the pay streak was a little bit patchy, but for 3 buckets running about 100 specks a pan, I really would have thought they would have seen more. Well, there's one way to kind of figure this out. Let's just tip all this back into our bucket. Gonna make absolutely sure that there's no gold in here. And if there is gold loss, it'll be right here in the tailings. 3/4 of a pan of tailings. I've done this gold prospecting thing for long enough to know that every single thing you use loses gold. It doesn't matter what it is or how good it claims to be. That's not the issue. It's about finding out which piece of equipment works best in what area. I've personally used the small Dream Mat on Reedy Creek and it works really well, but the large stuff doesn't. This is somewhere in between those 2 cell patterns, so maybe I'm above the good stuff for this area, because I've used that sluice box on another creek and pulled out literally grams of gold with minimal loss, but the gold there was much coarser. I know we're going to see gold. The question is how much gold. I don't want to see more than a couple of little flakes. Oh, our loss rate is quite high. I can see there at least 2 dozen pieces of flour gold. This is just the top tailings, the loose stuff. and I'm seeing at least 24 pieces. For this spot, that's unacceptable. I want to be retaining that gold because that's the gold that I've got to mine, and there's a lot of it. That doesn't make that a bad sluice box. It means that I can't use it on that kind of gold. And you're in for a really rude awakening if you think that your sluice box or whichever piece of gold prospecting equipment you have is perfect for every area. That's a lesson I learned a long time ago. You gotta pick and choose. I just spent the last 5 minutes shoveling up the end of the sluice box there. The great thing about loss is it never goes far out of the end of your sluice because there's a patch of dead water there normally. And we got heaps and heaps of black sand, and mixed in amongst it is a bunch of gold flakes. That's all going straight in the pay dirt. Oh, and hey Gadsy, I found your shovel you left behind the other day. It would seem kind of silly to me if we're getting more with a pan to keep running the sluice box and then have to run the tailings anyway. So I'm going to finish the gully in my pan. A little bit more work, but kind of guaranteed gold, right? Stepping back as far as I can. I really want to clean this up well because the gold here is actually quite good. It's a rarer type of deposit, finding one of these gulches that's untouched. When I first tested it, I didn't think it was that good, but I came back and had another crack, and that's when I started finding it a little bit further up. I've cut myself a step. That's nice. We should see gold. We should see gold, and this will tell us too if it's just erratic gold and that's why we didn't see as much in the sluice box, or if it's consistent. See, that was a very light pan. We know the sluice box was losing gold because we tested the tailings, but that also doesn't mean that the ground here is consistent. That can be the other reason that we have less gold than we thought. Alluvial fans have individual pay streaks running through them, so we have a main gutter that's very easy to identify where the gold must be running. But when it comes to a wider section, you might get a narrow channel of gold with very little either side, or you might get 2 or 3 channels of narrow pay streaks with nothing in between. And all that goes into a major effect when you start running quantity of dirt, because you might run a bucket that has nothing in it right next to a bucket that has heaps in it. And if you only test the bucket that has heaps in it, it gives you the false impression there's more gold than there is. Hopefully this one's a little bit better. More black sand. Yeah, about exactly the same actually. Huh. Patchy ground like this is such a pain in the ass to work, because it's like I'm not gonna get any quantity of gold by just following that further up. It's really concentrated down this end, but it doesn't seem to be a big deposit. Like I'm literally almost all the way through it. So I think this might be the last one from the area that was giving me really decent gold, and then that'll be it. That's all been done, that's been done. I've done that, I did this, there's nothing there, there was a little bit there. That's this gulch done. Get me snuffer bottle, get me pan, oh, wash it off. That's just it. Sometimes it's about knowing when to call it. I reckon this will be a good pan, but there's literally no gold above it and no gold below it. Yeah, see, that's a good pan. That's a much better pan. Managed to get some decent speck count in there. That's good. With all that being said, I think that is the Golden Gulch all finished. Let's go home and get the gold out, find how much is in there, put it in some pay dirt. Fernie, it's miller table time. There's a surprising amount of concentrates here, and there is gold in it. It's just really, really fine. But then this is Vo-Gus prospecting, and according to most people on the internet, I don't find real gold. So we're just gonna have to deal with little runaway crumbs like that. 95% of all the really rich areas that you could get really good days where you might pull out several grams of gold in my area are locked up under National Parks Acts, or just generally locked away so we can't get access to them. And I would be a daft fool to go there and put that on the internet. The point of me telling you this is because I've prided myself in the last 7 years on educating people on how to find gold. I live in a low grade area. The area that I'm working doesn't have a lot of gold, and I'm still able to find some half decent days every now and again. And that's not accidentally, I'm trying to hunt these deposits out. If you take the lessons that I'm teaching on this channel, and I have been teaching for the last 7 years, and apply it to areas that have good gold, you're gonna have bonanza days. My goal, hope, and purpose on this channel is to educate people so that they can go out and find real life treasure themselves. At the end of the day, I'm happy and satisfied with finding just a little bit of gold and some nice gemstones than I am with huge bonanzas, because I get the opportunity to meet and educate people all across the world. So that is not a lot of gold, but the gold was so fine I know I was losing a lot in the tailings again. This just was not my session, was it? While we wait for that to cool down, I did manage to pull out a couple of little gemstones from the oversize. I believe that is a piece of topaz next to several pieces of tourmaline, so that's kind of cool. I'm the impatient type, so we've got a towel, but that has allowed me to have a better look at the now dry gold. There is a lot of very fine stuff there. Maybe it won't be terrible. Picking the right piece of equipment for your area is critical. I don't think I'll be using that sluice box on Reedy Creek again. There are plenty of other places I will use it, because I reckon we would have got a lot more gold out of that gulch if I had used carpet and expanded mesh. Nonetheless, let's find out how much we got. I'm gonna guess maybe a 0.3 to 0.5, let's say 0.45. A little bit of black sand in it too. Oh, that was actually really close, 0.471. If we take out the black sand that's still in that gold, that's roughly 0.45 and $45 worth of gold at the time of recording, which isn't bad, but I know that gulch had more gold in it. I clearly lost some gold using the sluice box, and I've lost some gold in the cleanup that are in the tailings. This will be turned into pay dirt and put up on my page, The Old Moldy, in the next couple of days, so keep your eye on the website. But it should reinforce the idea of two things for all prospectors, no matter where you are in the world. Sand hides gold, and you've got to pick the right piece of equipment for the right area. Not every single piece of equipment that you use will work in every single spot.